John Knox House is Edinburgh's oldest surviving medieval mansion and one of the city's premier visitor attractions. John Knox was a key figure in the Scottish Reformation in the 16th century and one of the founders of the Church of Scotland. While not Knox's official ministerial residence, this building was his home for a short time towards the end of his life and now contains a fascinating exhibition which explores the dramatic story of the Reformation in Scotland. On the ground floor, you'll find yourself in our bookshop, but this would have looked very different back in Knox's time. In the gallery, you can see the original and striking Lucken booths, or locked booths. In Knox's day, each of these booths was individually rented out to a merchant to sell their wares. Among others, these booths were occupied by tailors, furriers, and cutlery makers, making this one of the very first shopping centres. You can step back in time by walking between the booths and feeling the original exterior stone wall. In the museum, you will encounter the original owner of the house, James Mossman. Mossman moved into this house in 1558 and enjoyed a luxurious lifestyle as one of Edinburgh society's elite. However, his financial stability was threatened in 1560 when the Scottish nobles gathered to assert Protestantism as the country's official religion, ousting Mossman from his coveted court position. He therefore became a strong proponent of Mary Queen of Scots' return to Scotland, seeking to re-establish both Catholicism and his place in society. When Mary returned, she rewarded Mossman's loyalty by making him the Crown's goldsmith and jeweller. Both he and Knox were fiercely dedicated to their opposing causes, and are emblematic of the bitter division that existed between Catholics and Protestants during this period. When climbing the original stone turnpike staircase to the first floor, be careful not to trip. The 7th step is slightly higher than the others, so any intruders creeping up the stairs would be caught out. In our book room, there is a collection of texts from the Reformation period. The books are written by a variety of leading voices of the time, including Knox, Erasmus, and Calvin. Here is a copy of the Basildine Bible, printed in 1572, and the first English language Bible to be printed in Scotland. One of the greatest power shifts in the Reformation came from the translation of the Bible from its original Latin. Along with the expansion of printing, this meant that the Bible was no longer the preserve of priests and scholars, but could be read by the wider population. This would have been welcomed by Knox, who was a strong proponent of education for all. Moving to the adjacent room, you can see the types of tools Mossman would have used to make jewellery for Mary Queen of Scots and other prominent figures. As the royal assay, Mossman was also responsible for minting coins. The replica blue blanket adorning the wall belongs to the Goldsmiths Guild. It implores its members to fear God and honour the King, with a long life and a prosperous reign. In the wake of the Scottish Reformation and the subsequent exile of Queen Mary, Mossman, as part of the King's Men, participated in a 3-year occupation and defence of Edinburgh Castle. Using his skills as the royal assay, Mossman established an illegal mint in the fortress that produced counterfeit coinage to finance the King's Men. This was seen as treason, and upon their surrender in 1573, Mossman was executed at the Market Cross. These thumbscrews and Scald's Bridle show the brutal reality of crime and punishment in 16th century Edinburgh. The bridle was fitted over the head as a punishment for gossip or slander, and the wearer would have to be extremely careful, as even the smallest movement of the mouth could cause a severe piercing of the tongue. Moving to the second floor Purim, you can see a display dedicated to the work and writing of Knox. Knox was a passionate writer as well as orator. These extracts show his fierce dedication for an ordered, disciplined and religious society, where the poor were not exploited by the aristocracy. Through his writing and speeches, Knox gained a dangerous reputation amongst his Catholic detractors. You can also see an attractive stained glass window, which is said to have been designed by James Ballantyne and was a gift from the congregation of St Giles Cathedral when the house opened as a museum in the mid-19th century. This painting of Lot and his daughters shows that while the Reformation made a point to drive religious art out of churches, it very much continued in the domestic sphere. The jewel of John Knox House is undoubtedly its oak room, with an impressive and unique atmosphere that visitors find particularly striking. In the time of Mary Queen of Scots, many key figures from the Scottish court would have been visitors here. It contains perhaps the piece de resistance of the whole house, an elaborate and riotously painted ceiling dating from around 1600, after both Mossman and Knox lived in the house. Details include signs of the zodiac, winged fairies, and devils. You can see a modern reproduction showing the ceiling's original vibrant colours, which have alas now faded. The often fractious relationship between John Knox and Queen Mary is detailed in a series of panels in the room. While ideologically opposed, they had in common a love for God and a genuine devotion to the people of Scotland. In the adjoining gallery, traditionally believed to have been Knox's study, you can read his moving last prayer. "And so I end, rendering my troubled and sorrowful spirits in the hands of the eternal God, earnestly trusting at his good pleasure to be freed from the cares of this miserable life and to rest with Christ Jesus, my only hope and life."